confronting toxic school culture can be somewhat tricky because people respond in a negative fashion for many different reasons. I like to sum it up with 3 questions that have to be answered and a directive. When people aren't moving in the direction we'd like, there's typically 4 different reasons. The first question the leader would have to ask is, when someone is not cooperating, is why do they need to change? And that goes back to leadership's ability to communicate. Just because I understand why change is necessary as a leader doesn't mean my subordinates do. So a leader who can't communicate may be trying to force people into a methodology or into a program that they don't understand. So it's imperative that leaders really communicate the why. Why do we need to collaborate? Why do we need to change our math program? It's by producing evidence like data. Producing evidence like, why is this program or initiative better than what we've been doing? People are intellectual, and if we don't appeal to their intellect with facts, then people tend to resist. The second question that needs to be answered is who. I may understand why we need to change, but my big issue is I don't trust you. I work with many schools where they've gone through 5 or 6 principals in 7 or 8 years. They've gone through or had a turnover at the superintendent's office, 3 or 4 in 6 years. So they're experiencing innovation fatigue. And it's not that they oppose change, but they don't have faith in the system that if they cooperate, that we're actually going to implement what we desire. So a leader has to extend an olive branch, listen to people, exhibit empathy, to build a professional and personal relationship, because some people move because they understand, other people move because they trust who's leading. The third question that needs to be answered is how. If I understand why what we have to do is necessary, I trust you. The third gap is, do I know how to do what you're doing, or what you're asking me to do? It's amazing how many administrators I work with who just assume that teachers have skills that were never cultivated, like differentiated instruction, like effective classroom management, like encouraging phonemic awareness. They just assume these things. So if you expect a teacher to follow a certain path or a certain methodology, it is imperative that a leader provide the resources through training, the time, the support, and the resources necessary to make sure that that person understands and has the capacity to do what we're asking him or her to do. The last skill, or the last issue to be addressed, isn't answering a question, it's a directive, and that's do. It's accountability. If we prepare people through great communication, building relationships, we provide them with support and training, that's pretty much all a person needs to change their behavior. At some point, we need leaders with enough courage that if they've made the investment in the development of their subordinates, to have the courage to say, at this point, we're not asking, it's a demand. And then develop reasonable systems of accountability to mark their progress, to analyze their performance, and to give them feedback, not with the hope that they do it, but with the expectation that if we say we're going to collaborate, we're going to unwrap standards, we're going to develop formative assessments and do tier 1, 2, and 3 interventions. Once we've made the investment, at some point a leader has to be strong enough to say, we've gone through all of the prerequisites. At this point, I'm expecting you to do it.